Well, joining me now is the Treasury Chief Secretary, Greg Hands. When did you find out about this extra £27 billion in the accounting?
Well, let me first of all, Krishnan, say what good news the autumn statement has been today. I think George Osborne has delivered absolutely right in terms of the priorities of the country, delivering national and economic security. In terms of the numbers, the OBR obviously derives all of its numbers independently, shares them with the Treasury as part of an ongoing iterative process between the OBR and the Treasury.
So when did they tell you that it was £27 billion?
Well, that's been told to us over the course of the last couple of weeks in terms of the process that is done for all fiscal events. There's nothing unusual here between the Office of Budget Responsibility and the Treasury. It enables us to take their latest forecast and therefore adjust departmental spending and tax
So it was in the last couple of weeks? It was definitely after the defeat in the House of Lords, was it?
Well, I could say precisely because it's an iterative process, and obviously the OBR...
There must have been a day when they said £27 billion and you all hit the roof.
No,
and went, hallelujah.
The OBR goes through a set of processes, yeah? So the numbers are moving around all the time in the lead up to any fiscal event when you ask the OBR to come out with a new set of forecasts.
It's all very vague.
And that's been the case for the last 5 years.
So when you went into the House of Lords debate that you lost, did you know that the OBR was about to tell you that there was this magic money?
Well, it isn't magic money, actually, Krishnan.
Well,
this is as a result of... No, it's not really it's actually a result of delivering our long-term economic plan, that the government, that the public finances have improved to that degree, which is very, very welcomed, of a £27 billion improvement over 5 years in the public...
Just to bring you back to the question, was it before or after that House of Lords defeat?
Okay,
it's very important to know this because we need to know whether you were being disingenuous.
Okay, no, I don't think anybody's being disingenuous. Certainly, I was not aware when we went into that vote, and don't forget we had 2 votes in the House of Commons as well as the vote in the House of Lords, that the public finance forecast had come out at that point to be able to show that degree of improvement.
So it was
I was
after.
not aware.
It was after.
Well, I was not aware.
You were told after, but it's possible that the Chancellor knew before.
Well, all I'm saying is it's part of a usual process. It's been going on for 5 years since we created the independence of the Office for Budget Responsibility.
But you said that these cuts were vital to our economic security, that there was no other way to meet your deficit targets. I mean, isn't this a big blow to believing anything you say in the future?
No, because we're still saying that we're going to deliver the £12 billion of welfare savings by the end of the Parliament, which was our manifesto commitment in May, voted for by the British people to deliver those £12 billion of welfare savings and also to deliver the surplus, which, again, taking the figures from the Office for Budget Responsibility, thanks to the action we've taken, we are delivering a surplus of £10.1 billion in the financial year 2019-20.
But I mean, really, this shows that at the first sight of trouble in this Parliament, in which you've got a very slender majority, you turn and run.
No, I disagree with that.
On something that you said was fundamental.
No, I disagree with that, because what we're doing is we're introducing the national living wage. We're raising the personal allowance so people keep more of their own taxation.
Yeah, but you didn't mention this low welfare, low tax, high wage economy today. That seems to have gone out the window.
No,
it's fundamental to the budget.
No, it's still a very, very important part of what we're trying to do. And don't forget, we're delivering the £12 billion of welfare savings by the end of the Parliament, which again is precisely on track for what we've been doing in the manifesto.
So just to be clear, the economy hasn't improved, has it, since July?
Well, there's been
that's not why this £27 billion...
There's been some small improvements, but the tax take from the economy, that's not an increase in the tax rate, but an increase in the tax take in the economy, and also the decline in the amount of debt interest that is projected to be paid over the 5 years. Those 2 things have delivered a £27 billion improvement in the public finances over the course of this Parliament, which I think we all welcome.
But this is just a delay, isn't it? The same people who are going to lose their tax credits are all being moved over onto universal credit, and you're going to save the same amount of money that way. So they will lose the money, but just by 2020 instead.
Well, what we said, Krishnan, it's we will deliver the £12 billion of savings. We're making sure that it's better sequenced to make sure that when the personal allowance really starts to rise, and it has been rising, of course, over the last Parliament, the national living wage is really taking off as well, that this will effectively have a better and smoother transition for people.
But they will lose it. I mean, so if you were going to lose £1,400, which a lot of people were, millions of people were, weren't they? how much are you going to lose by 2020?
Well, it all gets replaced by universal credit. So it's a little bit difficult to compare like for like. Tax credits are being phased out.
But they will be lower, won't they? So they will lose money by. It's just going to be by 2020.
Well, it's difficult to tell, but for precisely the same cohort, when universal credit comes in, obviously the calculations will be a little bit different. So it's impossible to say exactly who will be losers today, who won't be losers at the end of universal credit.
This is a lot of terrible, anguish and confusion for people, isn't it? I mean, for 5 months, a lot of people have been worrying about how to make ends meet because they thought they were going to lose their tax credits imminently. And now you're saying, well, they're going to lose, we just can't tell them what.
Well, but don't forget, Krishnan, what we are introducing for a lot of people in this situation is an increased national living wage. We're increasing a much higher personal allowance, which has gone up really a lot since we first took power in 2010, to deliver it to 12,500 by the end of this Parliament. Those things haven't changed. So the move away from a low wage, high tax, high welfare economy to a higher wage, lower tax, lower welfare economy is still very much there.
In your manifesto, you made a clear commitment of £1 billion for carbon capture and storage. You scrapped that today, haven't you? You scrapped a manifesto commitment.
We also made a commitment that it would be assessed on a value-for-money basis, and that's what we're looking at here. And we're also delivering, Krishnan, as you know...
Well, I've got the statement in front of me, and there's nothing about being assessed in that sentence. It says, I'm committing £1 billion for
We've always said that it would be looked at on a value-for-money basis. What we're also delivering with our energy package is making sure that energy bills are kept lower by £30 than they otherwise would be over the course of this Parliament. That is delivering a real benefit.
I'm not talking about energy bills. I'm talking about carbon reduction. We are about to go into these Paris climate talks, and you have just scrapped something that British scientists and businesses have been planning for years.
Well,
what kind of stability does that give? People who are trying to move us to a low carbon
We've got a very, very good record on renewable energy, on delivering on renewables. But what we also want to do, and bear in mind, of course, it was the Labour Party who asked for a freeze in bills in the last Parliament. We're going to deliver bills at £30 lower than they otherwise would be by removing a lot of subsidies that would effectively go to that energy bill payer. And that is a really important thing to do, to try and make sure we do everything we can to keep the bill payer's bill low.
Just finally, and this is all very disparate because it's a big speech, I mean, the OBR also makes it clear that the new growth figures are better because of the rise in net migration. In other words, had you hit your migration targets, you wouldn't now be hitting your growth targets. So you must be pleased that net migration is as high as it is.
Well, we remain committed to our manifesto commitment of reducing net migration to the tens of thousands.
Why? Because that would be bad for the economy.
We're not reaching that at the moment, but that remains our political commitment over the course of this Parliament, is to keep net migration down.
Greg Hans, thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you.